Now, hi, welcome to another session of Lederhosen Salesforce. So this is how to link Salesforce to Salesforce Marketing Cloud. It's not that straightforward, and that's why I'm doing this video. So the first thing is you need to go into salesforce.com and download from the App Exchange the Salesforce Marketing Cloud connector. That's not visible. I was looking at this org and I couldn't find it. Like it's not a Salesforce connection. It's the Salesforce Marketing Cloud connector. And then in the browsers, you got to make sure your Okta, your security things are disabled, because if they aren't disabled, the two clouds can't connect, and protocol to establish that initial connection, and then you can open your Okta and all that stuff, right? And in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, you'll have to do an API user, and then enable the API user to link into Salesforce.com. And in Salesforce.com, you have to add to the user page layout the additional fields that came with the connector, and enable them, and also make that user that. And then there's a couple other steps, and I'll show you next. So the first thing is create the API user here. This is in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, create the API user. Next, configure the API user, right? Then link that API user to the Salesforce.com org. Right down there, you see Salesforce.com status. You actually say modify settings. You integrate. You integrate down there. Right down there, you integrate. And then the one last step is back to the user, right? Once you've did it from the app side, you go back to the user and integrate it down there, right? You have the username and integrate that user. Now this is the API user to Salesforce. So don't forget, this is linking the API user to Salesforce org, and then here you integrate that same API user one more time right there, right? And then in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, this is the Salesforce integration. You do that, or you then sign in into Salesforce.com. And the final thing is the API user sign in. So it could be yours, Jorgen at Lederhosen.com here, but you're using the API user link from Marketing Cloud into Sales Cloud. Now in Salesforce.com, you have to, after downloading the app from the App Exchange, you have to add the fields. This is how you do it. In the lower left here, valid Marketing Cloud user, you just go to Object Manager, User, Object, Page Layout, and pull those fields down. Those fields right there from the App Exchange, pull them down onto the page layout. And the next step you have to do is actually enable them like that, because otherwise they're not visible and you can't enable them. And I read through a bunch of notes. It's like, yeah, this is it's hard to describe here. But this is pretty straightforward. And then the last thing you have to do is then assign those permissions with that to the user yourself, right? So, the Sales Cloud user, the Marketing Cloud connector, the Marketing Cloud connector admin, right? Enable the permission sets. It's not enough to just enable the permissions. You have to assign them to a specific user. In this case, it's Jorgen. So, and once that happens, right, and you also have to click the Marketing Cloud user check mark, you can then see, which is on the upper left, right, where all the apps are, you'll see, when you view all, you'll see Marketing Cloud. And at that point, you now have the two linked, right? You see the Marketing Cloud object. And once you click the Marketing Cloud object, you see this here, where you then connect to Marketing Cloud. And then you go through it. Remote sites, is it visible? Yes. Do you do an automatic setup? You go through all this stuff, all this configuration stuff, right? And then in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, right? So we switched from Salesforce.com to Salesforce Marketing Cloud. You then go through and make sure it's to the right business unit. You enable all sorts of things like users, like this, blah, 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 right? These are all the things, reporting, tracking, triggers, triggered sends, etc., right? And then finally, you have the connector set up. And the last thing you have to do in Marketing Cloud is assign the API user administrator and Marketing Cloud administrator roles. Right? Marketing Cloud doesn't have profiles. It just has roles. And the roles determine visibility versus in Sales Cloud, it's the profile that determines your innate permissions, right? Different architecture. So that's a key thing here. Don't do more, because if you do more here, this will choke it down to the most restrictive access of the role that you clicked. So if you did administrator and analyst, the governor limit is analyst permissions. So just do these two. Right? And then how can you check it? Well, in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, you go to Audience Builder here, right? And then you do Contact Builder, and then you start seeing this. Then you start seeing this over here, right? You'll see this, the data sources, you synchronize, etc. And you'll see this pop up on the right here, setup object, and you're at data sources, you were at syncing, and all of a sudden you can now go through. One of the caveats is if you want to see the case object, you have to link the user object first, and then you can see the cases, because cases run off of users. Just is. Right? And that's how dynamic sharing and linking happens. So here, for instance, you can see setup object, you can see contacts, leads, and the user. And the next step would be cases or contracts, right? Contracts, cases, leads. And that's how this is done. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And if you have questions, email me, Lederhosen Salesforce out. Please subscribe and enjoy the connection. Thank you.